constant from the days of Paul to the final conclusion of persecution in AD 313. But in fact, the worst persecution was right at the beginning and right at the end. But there was tremendous persecution. There was tremendous destruction of New Testament documents during that time period. And yet through all of that, it seems, up till now anyways, that the one scrap that is the oldest that has survived to our day contains this very discussion between Pilate and Jesus. So let's think about what has been preserved for us down through the centuries. Think about, just for a moment, think about everything that papyrus has survived. I mean, how good are you going to look in about 1900 years? You know, I mean, fire and flood. And you know what, one of the worst things that gets manuscripts? Bugs. I mean, that stuff's edible. You know, fungus, and it's amazing that we have the amount of material that we do have. It truly is, I think, providential. And I just wondered if there was, now I don't have any theology to substantiate this, okay, this is pure speculation. But I wonder if there was an angel that was given charge of that one particular scrap. What a life was his. And what a disappointment it must have been when that scrap was put into a box and almost, remember at the end of Indiana Jones? You know, remember the storage facility, you know? You know, can you just see the angel going, no! But then this guy comes along, and finally in the 1930s, it's like, yeah, go, man, go. You know. Yes! Assignment completed. It's wonderful. He's doing now, but it's got to be more interesting than that was, but he got his job done. That's, like I said, I have no particular theological proof that angels are, but I just think it's sort of funny to think about. Anyway. So let's think about what is in this text, because I think it is very relevant to us today, because you really do have here the kingdom of the Lord of all of creation versus the kingdom of the Caesar, represented by Pilate. And this is a theme of the New Testament. We cannot miss the fact that one of the earliest conflicts in the history of the church was between those who said Caesar is Lord and those who said Jesus was Lord. And that is a conflict that every single generation will experience. Now, sometimes that is not done in the context of those who are opposing Christianity having the power to persecute, but very often it is done in that way. And so it's always a conflict, and we, as I mentioned this morning, are now facing a time where we are having to think through what that conflict is going to mean for you and I. And isn't it interesting that within this discussion, Jesus is the one who, from the world's perspective, is standing under the authority of the Caesar, of the empire, of the world authority, and from the world's perspective is in grave danger. His life hangs in the balance. And yet Jesus' response is not to plead for his life. And in fact, Jesus' response is to recognize that he would have no authority unless it were given to him by God himself. And it really makes us, I think, have to ponder, have to consider that what we're facing today, if we truly are standing with Christ, if we truly are standing on a meaningful interpretation of his words, a recognition of what his teaching really was, who is really being judged? Is it us? Or is it the world that thinks they're judging us? Think about that. Think about that. I think it's a comforting thought to recognize where the judgment really is taking place. So Pilate comes in, and he's heard about Jesus being a king, and so he asks. And it would be relevant, obviously. It could be relevant just simply on the level of, well, if you're claiming kingship, it's immediately plain what we have to do with you. There have been all the insurrections, and Pilate was not a nice guy. He had done horrible things in his tenure in office. But Jesus' response is, my kingdom is not of this world. My kingdom is not, and it's literally ek tu kosmou, out of this world. It does not have its origin and source in the governmental authority structures that are common in this world. It's just that it exists out there someplace. That's normally how we understand this, is that, mine's just a heavenly kingdom. It doesn't have anything to do with down here. No. It actually has everything to do with down here because it's a universal kingdom. But it does not find its origin and source in this world. My kingdom is not of this world. So when he says my kingdom, when you say my kingdom, you're pretty much admitting that you are a king. He says, if my kingdom were of this world, then my servants would be agonizing. They would be fighting. They wouldn't have allowed this to happen. I wouldn't have allowed it to happen. But he says, now my kingdom does not come from here. It does not come from hence. So Pilate's response to his is, then you are a king, because you just talked about your kingdom. And so Jesus has to explain the nature of this kingdom to Pilate. He says, you say that I am a king. In some of your translations, I think the New American Standard puts in the word correctly in italics, if I recall. Some of them do, I'm not sure, but it's literally, you say that I am a king. Unto this I was born, and unto this I have come into the world. Now, it sounds to me like Jesus is fully aware of where he has come from and where he's going. But notice what it is unto. For this reason I was born, for this reason I've come into the world, and then you have what's called a hina clause. Here's the fulfillment. This is the reason, that I might testify concerning the truth or to the truth, that I might witness. It's the term martyreo, from which we get martyr. Now realize, we generally tend to think of martyr as someone who dies. That's a later meaning. To martyreo is to give testimony. And Jesus literally says that I might testify the truth, that I might bear witness to the truth. Now this is, of course, the same gospel where Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life.